It's really rare that a interactive game or experience gives me such a widespread and disparate collection of visceral emotions, but We Are OFK did exactly that. It's an episodic interactive cartoon that releases weekly. There's 5 episodes in total. Each episode lasts for about an hour and is broken down into domestica and slice of life drama of a band that are forming together and making their first EP. And then at the end you get to play with an interactive music video to chain off some of the effects as they go. There's no rhythm action as part of this game, which is what I originally thought was going to be part of this game. It does a really bad way of selling what this game actually is in all of the trailers that go along. And I think that's because it's trying to do too many things at once. It's launching an indie pop band, but it's also launching a series, a load of characters, lots of potential merch opportunity, whilst also selling the message of indie is hard, stay true to your creative roots, and being successful and taking the money is a bad thing, whilst also trying to get you to buy all these products. There's issues upon issues with some of the messaging that's going on across this game and collective project experience. And there are several barriers to entry with this game that I think will be difficult for a lot of people to overcome unless you're in a very specific couple of demographics. If you live in the LA creative scene, you might enjoy this game. If you live for diversity's sake, you will love this game. If you live for indie pop music and a good slice of life melodrama, you will probably enjoy this game. Everyone else will probably look from the outside in going, what the hell is going on here? And why am I either partly invested but also viscerally cringing all at the same time? And why do I want to, and this was where I come into in this camp, I just wanted to shake most of the characters and scream in their faces and say, take control of your life and make some decent life choices, people! Ah! This game proper winds me up. So, what's going on with all of these characters then? Itsumi plays keyboards and is having a identity crisis as well as a self-confidence crisis, and she's stuck in a creative drought. All of these things are quite relatable, but she totally is in an avoidant self-sabotaging syndrome. So she'll get drunk instead of actually focusing on stuff. Yes, she practices for her piano recitals and stuff like that, which is great, but then she'll complain about it all the time or go out and get drunk and then she'll turn up hungover and you just think you're not helping yourself. She's also a gamer, but also Pisces, but also Sagittarius, and there's also a Venus coming in. She's one of those types of people that you could kind of say, here, let me have some help to offer you. And then she would find out a way to find out that she's allergic to that help. And therefore the world has done a bad turn and she's not been grateful or graciously accepting of what's gone on before her. And that's why I found her quite infuriating. The next character, Jay, is probably the one that I initially related to the most, and that's because she is a successful producer, but she's been brought up in a family that values money and power and success over creative and artistic integrity. So she's constantly being put into really high-paying projects, but then she's got to sell out and work exclusively, and that causes a problem for the band itself, because she's producing their songs because she knows all of these people. So she gets put into awkward situations. My problem with her character is not necessarily her specifically, but it's the way how she's treated and vilified for being successful, but also then being seen as a goddess of someone who was able to be successful with their creative project, as if she's one in a million and totally unattainable for everyone else, whilst being simultaneously vilified for it. It's a really awkward line to tread. And because Jay is also quite aloof and direct, it makes her quite abrasive as a character initially to speak with until you explore her much more. The third character falls into the Itsumi category, and that's Luca. Luca just wants to chase the boys. He doesn't really take what's given to him on a plate, but he is a good songwriter and he is a good vocalist. And the problem with all of this is that he falls into that when you're tragic but talented category, and they can't be helped. They can't help themselves, so you're trying to help them, but then they can't really accept or take that help either. So whenever Jay is busy offering loads of opportunities early on, he's like, oh, I just can't, I'll avoid it and I'll go and get drunk, or I'll go and get bar job and I'll kind of hide away and I won't interact with anyone, whilst also wanting to go for boba on a like group text chat. And I find that really, really frustrating. He's also quite vacuous in the way how he'll drop like lots of weird and wonderful, like big real world decision choices and then equates them to like choosing babies, like Sophie's choice for choosing songs. Not quite the same. I get that it's all around like killing your babies and this is like a creative thing as you go along, but not quite the same. And then they're like, oh, and I don't even really know what that all means anyway. And it just feels like people are pulling at random bits of pop fiction or pop culture rather, and then just kind of going, here, we're relatable, ta-da, when actually they're really not. The fourth character is Carter, and Carter is non-binary, but that's their defining trait for the first 3 episodes because they're given very little screen time to do anything. They seem to be the quiet friend in the group and actually the most sensible of the 4. And what's really interesting about Carter, and it's more around a pacing issue of the story rather than the character themselves, they can and are fleshed out, but because they are the last one to do so, you kind of go, at the end, and kind of think, well, that was kind of some of the meat and potatoes of We Are OFK, but it's also the episodes that does things differently to the main OFK, let's do slice of life drama, let's all just row with each other on text messages and have to deal with inane chatter. Carter's episode is actually like dark in themes and has an awful lot going on. And it feels totally separate and different to everything else that We Are OFK does. And it works so much better, which then makes me go, why wasn't the rest of the show like this? So yeah, it's because it's trying to be like, hey, we're an indie pop band and also we've got fun cartoon. And oh, look, we do colour palettes. And oh, look, we do funky stuff. And yes, we say fuck every 3 or 4 words. And that brings me on to my other problem with the scripting. The problem with this game is that, and there's a really good comedy sketch by Caitlin Riley that does this with anytime Netflix writes for teenagers. They seem to think that everyone interacts with each other through group text messages whilst they're in the same room together, but putting the word fuck and saying the word fuck every 2 or 3 words. And then it's all about getting drugs, getting pissed, saying fuck every 5 seconds, and then wanting to go for boba tea or whatever is the latest hipster trend, and that's it. But also wearing that as their personality and saying that we're diverse and indie and really, really like we're the future and we just want to be seen, when actually it's less about them being diverse, it's more about them being fucking disaster zones. Fucking disaster zones. Fucky, fucky, fuck, 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 fuck. That's how their script would have wrote that sentence. And it's really cringe. It's proper cringeworthy. And I've never been, like, Life is Strange. Do you remember when it was going, oh, we're hella cool? Imagine that, but every single sentence, and see how far you survive this game. Because it's really baffling. And yes, it might work for a very specific niche group, but it then makes the more universal themes of creative and artistic integrity, standing up for what you believe in, that diversity element of the story becoming much more prominent and universally integrated into the world. It's really difficult to do that when you've got people who just want to go for boba and, oh, let's play this RPG because I'm a gamer now, because gaming is cool. I was waiting for someone to just dye their hair blue mid-scene because they were now a gamer. And it's just, it's exhausting. It is absolutely exhausting. And so whilst there are elements of this that I really did enjoy, and I like the idea of what We Are OFK does, I came away from this game just thinking I want to bomb LA. If that's what that is really like. And if people are really like that, then no wonder the music industry is in the state that it is in. And everyone needs a proper good slap. Well, I feel better after ranting for that review. I hope that was informative. Yeah, leave your comments and questions down below. I hope other people have had a much better experience of this than I did. This is probably one of my most regretted purchases in 2022, which is a shame because I had high hopes for it. Take care. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.